I ain't catching anything, man. I think we'll just take this inside. See you in there. Yeah. It's a few days after. I got some stuff on this lens. There, that looks a little better. Um, so yeah, at midnight tonight, it is Friday the 27th here in Bemidji, northern Minnesota. I have been unemployed since the 17th of March. And so I've had a lot of time to think and tinker and did a little fishing. Gonna do a little fishing tomorrow. But that clip you've seen before, well, that was a little expedition and it didn't pan out so well. And I thought I was going to be all cool and slick and just say, oh, come on over here. And then I was going to come back home and start recording, but it didn't happen. You know, and when you get laid off, you gotta kind of do some calling and make sure bills and stuff are going to get paid right and so on and so forth. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I've got some pretty cool little hacks and tips and tricks and stuff that I've came up with at the beginning of the ice season, but I wanted to use them to make sure they work. I wasn't just going to make up a bunch of shit just to give you guys. I want to make sure they work. If they didn't work, then I wasn't going to show them. So I happen to have a couple of them. One's a homemade deal, and another thing, well, I'll just let that be a little bit of a surprise. But before I do anything, I've got to clean up the table of chaos here. So here's the table of chaos. This is where the podcast goes down. There you can see that don't be the Lone Angler logo, but you can see I have quite the mess. Bad mofo. This right here, well, that's something I'm going to show you later, and it involves that. But, oh, there. Yeah, so just give me a minute here to kind of straighten up the table here a little bit, and then we can get right into it. So I lied. I really didn't clean off the table too much. The first little hack that I decided to do or decided to try out was, I'm going to show you something. So if you have this style of fly reel, especially one, this inline 1-to-1, especially something that's got holes in it, holes through the frame and through the spool. Well, I figured out a way that I've been using to prevent the spool from being moved while in transport. Because what'll happen sometimes is, you even if you have it in a rod bag or a bucket or whatever, the handle gets bumped a little bit. And what happens is the tip, like so, starts to do this. There's better, if you can kind of see that. There we go. And I'm just every time you tap it, it goes like this, and that's really not good for noodle rods. So I got to thinking one day, well, I got all these holes in here. Well, why don't I just make a pin? And I thought, well, I could use a bolt, but they're metal and clumsy, and I don't want to mess with those. I thought about even, designing and 3D printing a little almost like a cotter pin type style deal. And I was like, I need to come up with something that a person could make this really easy with just some scraps or really inexpensive. So what I came up with, and I'm going to try to get out the first piece here, is I'm lucky enough where I work, I was able to get from the electricians. This is, I think it's like 14 gauge copper wire. And what's nice about this stuff is that it's really super soft. And believe me, I've got a huge chunk of this. I'm just about 6 foot. On a good day, I'm like 6.5 feet. So that's about 6.5 feet. Because I'm having a good day. Anyway, what's nice about this is it's super soft. You can, even a short piece, you can bend it. And this is going to be key for this. So what I decided to do was come up with a flexible pin, much like those night eyes. You can get them at like a hardware store or a camping store or any, but Night Eyes makes these little deals. They're like like a nylon coated. There's a wire or lead wire inside, and it's got two nice little rubber ends. They're usually brightly coated, but they're like a reusable twist tie type thing. Well, I decided to make my own. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to go about making that. I'm going to fix this camera angle so you guys can see what's going on. All right. Oh, here's a little tip number 2. I got this really cool, it's like a pistol maintenance or a knife maintenance mat. It's a rubber mat, but it's cool because it's got the, it doesn't move once it's down on the table. It doesn't have anything sticky on it, but it's got these like little milled pockets in it, and you can drop stuff on here, like say this, and it's not really going to go anywhere. And you can keep tools on here. It just keeps your little work area nice and neat. Anyway, back to this. So here's what I came up with. So step number 1 is I'm going to take this piece of copper wire, and I'm going to cut it at about, I don't know, we'll say, since I'm a fisherman, we're going to call that, you know, solid 10 inches. I'm just kidding. I would say about a good 5.5 inches. I'm going to cut one here. I've got some really shady wire cutters. They're side cutters, but we're going to cut a little piece like that. Okay? Now, the second part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, wire is out of control. Pitch that over. So the next thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to take some needle nose, and what I want to do is I just want to loop and curl this. All I got is a GoPro, and this probably isn't the best camera for this, but I just want to kind of bend this over because I don't want it to be sharp, and then you're going to end up with a little loop like that. I'm going to take and just flatten this out the best I can. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of loop them over, kind of keep it straight so it's kind of touching on itself there. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other end. Try to make a small little loop. Ooh, that one pinched kind of nice. There we go. So we got the nice rounded ends. We're going to cover this with something. So a long time ago, I had a herniated disc in my back, and I was really super bored, and I'm the type of person who needs to make stuff constantly. So I have a bunch of, 550 paracord. I have a pile of it. I have a billion different colors and whatnot, but I'm just going to use this color right now. And it makes sense to have a nice bright color. So we have our piece, and we're going to take, and I'm going to cut about an inch, half inch, 3/4 of an inch longer on each end. Just a longer piece like so. Now I'm going to take and remove the guts out of this. That's garbage. Don't need that. All we want is this sleeve. Now we're going to take the wire, and we're just going to slide that baby right on in there. There we go. That'll work. See, because this stuff starts to kind of flare apart on you. So we're just going to take and work that down so you have a bunch hanging over off each end, like so. Okay. Now I'm going to take and trim one end off just a little bit. And you're going to leave some, and then you need to get yourself a lighter or some sort of fire. That's what I'm doing right now. Very unorganized, and got myself a little lighter for lighting this stuff. Being that it's nylon, it's going to melt, so we're just going to take and melt this end. You're going to want to make sure it's nice and goopy. Wet your fingers. Basically, you're just wanting to seal that end up, and it did shrink down because you don't want it to poke through. Then you're going to take and do the same thing on the other end. You're going to trim this off. Leave it a little bit long because it did shrink quite a bit. And then you're going to take and do a twisting motion. And you could do this a couple times. You want to make sure that wire's not going to come out of there. There, like so. Now you're probably thinking, well, what the heck do you do with this? Well, I'm going to grab this rod. Where did I set it? Right here. So what this does is I'm going to put it through these holes right on the frame here. And I'm just going to go like so. Then I'm going to take and just fold it over. Like so. Boom. Now, this spool is not going to turn. And it's not going to turn and cause any stress on this. Nice and locked down. You can bump this all day long and nothing's going to happen. It's not going to move. Then when you get to where you're going to go fishing, just take and unfold. Just unfold it. Slide it out. If you wanted to, you could just wrap it around the front of your rod. Or, you know, like so, if you want to, so you don't lose it. Or you could just do what I do and just put it in my pocket. So there's something you can do on rainy days this summer or in this fall. Or later this fall as you're getting ready for ice season, is get yourself some 14 gauge copper wire or any sort of soft wire. Paracord's super cheap. You get 100 feet of it for like $7 or $8. And 100 feet of it, you could make these little pins all day long. And now I have something that's going to securely lock my 1-to-1 reels. I haven't come up with anything for spinning reels or anything like that. They're a little more tricky. But if you do have a reel like this, 1-to-1s that have holes in the frame and through the spool, you can go ahead and make one of these deals, and you can lock your spool in place so that it doesn't go anywhere. Heck, you can even do it like that, and it's not going to move. It's not going to move. So there you go. There's number 1.